Let's go Dallas 30, New York Jets 10. I believe this was kind of the expected outcome. Zach Wilson had his struggles outside of that 168-yard pass to Garrett Wilson, which was beautiful. Other than that, complete domination from Dallas defensively, complete domination from Micah Parsons, one of the best games you'll see from any defensive player, rushing the passer, sacks, forced fumbles. He had the forced fumble on a run and picked it up. Yeah, man, Micah is unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, there's one of a number of defenders that are sort of pushing for that Defensive Player of the Year thing. And, I mean, Parsons is absolutely one of them. But we're in this, they were talking like, don't put a cap on it. Don't say Defensive Player of the Year, like MVP and all this kind of stuff, right? Now, look, it was Tony Romo on the broadcast. So, yeah, Micah Parsons was going to be talked about in a very good light. But it's a weird time where there's like 5 probably defensive players that could all be talking about it as like the best player in the NFL at any position. And Parsons was just an absolute domination display in this game. I mean, the run game, the one-on-one wins as a pass rusher, he's so good at winning one-on-one that it almost feels like cheating to deploy him as part of a stunt as well. Like you have stunts that sort of cross the end and the tackle are literally designed to make life easier for those guys rushing the passer. It's not like Micah Parsons needs his life to be made easier. He's already winning so easily one-on-one. I don't even think Zach Wilson was particularly bad in this game. 2 of those turnovers, the interceptions, came late in the game when he was already way behind the 8 ball. I mean, look, the way you heard Peyton Manning talking about him on the Manning cast when he went in, the way you heard Tony Romo talking about him in this game, clearly Zach Wilson is a quarterback who needs to be in front of the chains most of the time, right? In a good game script situation. If the game is getting away from the Jets, he's in trouble. And that's what happened in this game. Like eventually the Jets got into a big enough hole, and at that point you can pretty much write it off. Zach Wilson is not bringing you back, and in fact is probably going to make it worse. But I don't think he was necessarily terrible for the first, 2-3 quarters of the game.
No, I agree. I mean, if the Jets were going to have a chance, you'd have to look at their running backs. This is one of the few times, Sam, where I would encourage a team to actually run it more and maybe even try run, pass. Try it and over and over again and hope that Breece Hall breaks a big one. I unfortunately hate to say it, I don't see Dalvin Cook breaking the big ones anymore. He looks much slower. He had the fumble, of course. Mm-hmm. That Micah Parsons forced and recovered. That it feels like if Breece Hall can break a 50-yarder, they have a shot here with Zach Wilson. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, he'll hit this rhythm, play action pass. Garrett Wilson will make a guy miss and go for 68. We need 2 or 3 of those a game. We need a couple of it's kind of how I described it, I think, in the preview. If Zach Wilson can have a bunch of boots and a bunch of screens and a bunch of mindless type of plays, and only make him actually have to read it out 8 to 10 times a game, maybe you can manage, because then you only need a few good throws out of him. It's just such a fine line to make that all work, and it's not going to happen against this Dallas defense who did not allow the run game to do anything. And also, the Jets' offensive line is bad. Like, I'm curious if Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback here, we might be talking about 10 points for the Jets. The way that offensive line cannot block DeMarcus Lawrence, cannot block Micah Parsons. I don't know who's doing anything against this Dallas defense right now.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? I thought both defenses actually played pretty well, but every other element favored Dallas. When you look at the other side of the ball on either side, like the Jets' offensive line simply doesn't function. Dallas's offensive line isn't bad. Dak Prescott opened the game for 10 for 10. They were having some joy in terms of offense. Zach Wilson couldn't really function that well, and the Jets couldn't run the ball because their offensive line is bad. So everything favored Dallas. And then when you start adding that on top of, when it was close, some calls went Dallas's way as well, right? Like there was an egregious roughing the passer call on Dak Prescott. The Jets were off the field on that play. Like that was a win. They were going to get off the field. John Franklin Myers gets through, hits him in the waist. Like this idea of where's the target area supposed to be for a quarterback? Can't hit him below the knees, can't hit him above the shoulder, got to hit him in this trunk area. He makes contact in the waist and then slides down in the course of the tackle and, wraps the legs. It's like textbook technique. And they're like, well, he ended up around his ankles, therefore he must have gone low. Throw the flag. So that ends up being a score in a play on a drive where the Jets defense held, down by the goal line, a tough situation, got themselves off the field. And there was another penalty, I think, on that drive before Dallas eventually punches it in. But
pass interference, I think, on third down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the football fan in me wants to see a close game. And when a team like the Jets are overmatched, and I'm kind of rooting for just, the drama in the closer game, those are tough ones, right? Those are tough. And if you're a Jets fan, you're watching this game like, man, we're hanging tough against what looks like a juggernaut here in Dallas. If we could just hold them to a field goal, and they do it, but there's the two penalties that those could be frustrating.
But, that offensive line for the Jets does look like a massive worry. I mean, Dwayne Brown looks spent at left tackle. Now, look, he's going up against some elite pass rushers at the moment, but he looks like he's done, which makes sense given his age. I mean, what is he, 38?
He was drafted in 2008.
Yeah. So he's, it makes sense for him to be pretty much done at this point. But you're right. Like, it's all the focus is going to be on Zach Wilson because he's the quarterback and he's the guy being tasked with making the playoffs so that Aaron Rodgers can come back in like 6 weeks from his busted Achilles. But I don't know that he has a chance with this offensive line the way it's playing.
Dak Prescott played a good, efficient game. The EPA was high at one point. He did get away with a pick six, so I had to tweet out, there should have been a pick six in there. He throws one to Sauce Gardner, who had, 50 yards of green right in front of him. If he caught it, that would have affected the EPA. That's why I made that point.
Yeah, it was a weird play. He wanted to go there the whole way and hesitated, sort of talked himself out of it initially, and then went back to it anyway. And that's like, you can't, late to the flat is the cardinal quarterback sin. Can't do that. So you can't hesitate, then throw the same pass you wanted to throw in the first place. That just gave Sauce Gardner a read on it, and he should have caught it.
So that's the only real egregious mistake from Dak. He was really good spreading the ball around. CeeDee Lamb, fantastic. 7 first downs through the air. Really nice double move. That was Dak's probably his best throw of the day on a double move down the field. They did a nice job scheming CeeDee Lamb up as well. Brandon Cooks was hurt in this game, so you saw a little bit more Jalen Tolbert. Mm-hmm. I think he drew one of those pass interferences down the field. It was Dallas played the game that Buffalo should have played, Sam.
Yeah.
Right? Dallas played the game, not taking anything away from the Jets, but the Jets should be 0-2 if Dallas played the game where they ran the ball, they threw it underneath, they didn't turn it over, right? Dak gets away with that one pass that would have, kept the Jets in it, but just don't screw it up when you're facing Zach Wilson's Jets right now. Unfortunately, that's the name of the game. Dallas did it, and cannot rave about Micah Parsons enough. When you talk about the best defensive player, we're going to see Myles Garrett play tonight, and I thought week 1 Garrett was outstanding, right? I think Garrett's right there. Micah Parsons is right there. Nick Bosa, TJ Watt, all those guys. But I think at the end of the day, you might be talking about Micah Parsons as the dude, right? Year 3, and he has been unstoppable when Dallas wants him to be unleashed and be unstoppable. And this is one of those games where you saw that.
Yeah. He's, as I say, there's probably 5 guys that have a best player in football, defensive player of the year candidacy that's a credible claim, and Micah Parsons is one of them. The forced fumble on Dalvin Cook, he just ran in, just ripped the ball away from him, and was unfortunate that his knee was in contact with Cook when he was on the ground recovering it, or it's a touchdown as well. He got up and housed it, just didn't get credited for it. He's insane right now.